Hi, welcome to Fincast Teacher tutorial video on using the whiteboard. Okay, the whiteboard that comes in Fincast Teacher can be used independent or connected to a selected student. So what does that mean? Well, it basically means if you have a student from your student section, for example, we select Tori James, whatever we now write on this whiteboard will be associated to him, or if you prefer, it's Tori James's whiteboard, and it's equally for each selected student. Okay, so down here we have a button which allows us to turn on off what we like to say ink, to allow us to start writing. We have ink sizes here, which allows us to change the size of the ink. This one here allows us to change whether we're going to use kind of a dot icon or a pencil icon for when we're going to write. We have 16 primary colors, and we can change. I think it's on blue at the moment. So for example, we can change to a much better selection and bigger selection, even down to custom colors. So let's say if I pick this kind of a maroon color here, we would expect everything to change to that. Maybe it's more brown. As equally for primary colors, you can just click on them straight away. We have two eraser buttons. The first button that we have here is normal eraser, and it allows us just to erase like you would do in real life. You can change the size it is to much larger and smaller if you need to speed things up. Okay, the second eraser, let me just draw something there, a couple of lines. I'll go from here to there, which is 1 line, 2 and 3. We can call that my start to my end point, like a continuous movement. In this particular eraser, it clears the start to end. So basically where you started and you end it, or if you like, stopped. Now in this case I'm using a tab rather than the mouse. I'll use the mouse first for line 1. And then I'm going to use the tablet with his pen. So it works as equally the same. Tablets are available to purchase online from various companies and manufacturers and sizes. Usually used by graphic designers, but make excellent physical boards to write on as you're teaching with a digital pen and a board. So I'm just going to put one up on the screen that I have here in front of me. It's not huge and it's more than adequate. It's probably about, I don't know, 4 inches in height by maybe about 6 inches in width, give or take. So basically it allows me to just write like I am on paper, or if you like, how you would probably write on a whiteboard in real life. Now also I'll just clear the board here, or clear the ink. This button here is to clear ink, this button here is to clear everything on the board. And the reason why I say that to you is because we can also add text. Again, we can choose whatever color is our preference. We can change to different font types. We can make it bold, normal, oblique, italic. And I'll just turn this off for a moment. So I can move around, we call it a text block. I can resize it with the mouse. You can have as many of these as you can fit onto your board, and you can obviously have the font completely different in all of them. So this is a selection tool which allows us to move and resize, and while that's unselected now, it allows us to type text. Pretty much like using any word processor. it is really clear to read for the student. And again, I can select my selection tool and resize and put this basically wherever I choose to on the board. Now, there is a font size also on that. To independently delete that, you right click with your mouse and you can click delete, or you can click paste if you copied something in that you want to paste into the text box. As equally, we can add images. You may want to add an image for any specific reason. Here I'll just take this fashion one, and again with the mouse I can resize and do wherever I want, and maybe just put this over here on the right hand side. Again, it's unlimited amount of images that you can add to the whiteboard. So let's go back now to maybe a little bit of ink, and we might, for example, I don't know, we'll draw a couple of circles or something here. We might use this as a letter, we might use this as, I don't know, some sort of object, square, kind of triangle, etc. Now, the reason why I just did a couple of various things on this is because I want to show you the mouse or pointer. So obviously your mouse, or the mouse you can see on my screen here, your student cannot see that, and what's here is what the student obviously sees via the application they're connected to you with, most likely Skype. So here's the mouse pointer, and in this case they can see this mouse pointer when you turn it on, and it lets you point to exactly what you are talking about, whether it's a picture, whether it's text, or whether it's just some ink that you've drawn on the board. And you just simply turn it off by clicking it like that. This is what we call a highlighter, which allows us to use a highlight. So again, we turn on our ink, but as opposed to it being ink, we leave it on red. You can see that it's more of a highlighter than it is of ink. It doesn't cross out, and we can go for the traditional yellow here, should you need to highlight anything on the board. Now, the board also has automated zoom and full zoom that we can use. So for example, I'm going to left click on this word TV here, which is like panning. So basically this is where I want to zoom in. By default it's at 50%, the speed is 3 on how fast it zooms in. This goes up to 200% by the way, by just alternating up and down the positive and negative keys. So okay, I'm just going to click this zoom button, and you can see we can zoom into the board exactly where I want to on the word TV. The minus key allows us to zoom out. If you need to do that at a much slower pace, say 10 seconds, you can do it like that. This would be usually used where you need to more space on the board for teaching. You can have images this small but be able to zoom into them where the student can clearly see what it is you wish to explain. This is the manual zoom. Basically each click zooms in. On the plus and on the minus, each click zooms out. Okay, so that's basically the whiteboard in question. It's got everything that we need to get to do. Again, if you want to delete the picture, you right click and click delete. And for text or for ink only, you click this button to clear ink, and this button here is what we call clear the whole board, the entire board. But before I do that, I want to I'll click off Tori James to somebody else. For example, Kelly Howard. Okay, she doesn't have anything on her whiteboard, but let's put something on. I don't know. Let's say we're going to do an engineer diagram for somebody, which is equally good for drawing wiring diagrams, etc. So let's just say, I don't know, let me just highlight this and turn it on. We have a bell. This is a doorbell. I'm still on ink, I beg your pardon. We give it a polarity of positive and a polarity of negative. We have a power supply unit. We would have maybe, say, at the mains 240 volts if in Europe, and our low voltage is going to be 9 volts, give or take. And then we have a doorbell button. So if it was me, I would bring the positive directly to the bell, and then the doorbell is by default normally open, which means when you press the button the circuit closes and the negative can continue on like a small bridge to the bell, and the bell will ring. Okay, that was a small lesson in how to wire a doorbell. So let's go back to students. So you can see if we click on Tori, we have all the information that we previously did for Tori on Tori's whiteboard. And if we go here to Kelly Howard, we have all her information also. So we'll go back to Tori because there's a bit of everything. We've got ink, we've got some typed text, and we have images. So we want to clear the whole board. New lesson, new information. So we simply click this button. You will be prompted. This will clear the whole board and all information, because you may not want to. You may have clicked it by accident. If you have clicked by accident, simply click cancel. Nothing will be erased. If you click OK, it's gone, and it's gone for good. It will have also left the database and is not retrievable. So we'll select back on Kelly Howard, and we see the doorbell is still there, and we'll see now for Tori James the board is completely clear and ready to receive a whole new information. Okay, so that pretty much covers everything on the whiteboard. I don't think I left anything out there. We seem to have covered every icon. Oh, one final item to display. This is to take a photograph. So basically you may have finished completing a full lesson for an hour of information on the whiteboard with the student. You may want to take a snapshot of that before you erase it, which is full high definition 1920 by 1080, and send it to the student and say, okay, go over that information that we've done today. Or if it was a wiring diagram like we previously did, you could take a snapshot of that wiring diagram and email it to somebody who wants to wire a doorbell. Okay, so once again, thank you for watching, and their website is fincastteacher.com. Bye now.